So howdy y'all. So welcome back to our show, our channel. For those of you who are new here, this is the YOML show. YOML stands for A Year of Magical Learning. And today we're on episode 74 and Chris will introduce the book. And we have a very special guest today, Brooke. And so let's Chris introduce the book and then talk about his reflection, and then we can discuss about, the lesson that we can learn from that.
You got it. Yeah, no, excited to have Brooke on here. Brooke came to our anti-book club book club. She was telling us some amazing, cool, fun books that she was reading. So, and I'm super. I'm sure we'll be talking about this eventually at some point in time on this episode in the future. But yeah, we are having such a good time. We thought, throw her on the recording here and we'll go for it. So the book today is a book called Hope is Not a Strategy. It's the 6 Keys to Winning the Complex Sale. If any of you guys don't know, sales is my profession. I work for a company called Salesforce, and that's what I've done my entire professional career. However, this particular book, the reflection title I will get into, is called the book that started it all. So ironically, how this whole journey actually started with this book called Hope is Not a Strategy. This book unknowingly kicked it all off back in January of 2020. So I'll give you a quick context. Every year at Salesforce, we always set like these personal goals and things like that and whatever, as well as our company goals. And then we present it to our teams. In January of 2020, I thought, hey, you know what? I hadn't really been reading as much as I wanted to. As a matter of fact, I probably only read I read a lot of blogs and case studies and things like that, but like books really hadn't really been a big part of my life ever since, really college. So probably been about 10, 12 years or whatever since I'd really regularly had made reading a habit. So I wanted to change that. And I told my team, I want to try to read one book a month. That was my goal for 2020. I was like, I'm going to try to read one book a month. And that's what I'm going to set out to do. So I told my boss, and after that meeting, obviously he was in that meeting, and I was like, hey, I don't even know what book to start with. So what do you recommend? He was like, well, Hope is Not a Strategy is, a classic, sales book. And obviously that's my job and my profession. And I was like, all right, fine. What the hell? I'll check it out. Right. So, so every day I would get to the office and I would, this is back still when we went to the office, and, I would get into the office and I would do my morning routine or whatever. And then I would kind of sneak off. They had these little reflection rooms that because it's a trendy tech company. So you could go into these little meditation rooms. So I would take my book over to the little meditation room and I would try to read my 15 pages while I was in there. And, before I knew it, Hope is Not a Strategy was done. Right. It was about halfway through January, and I was like, oh, that felt good. I hadn't really regularly read for a while. And that daily habit, was starting to compound and I was feeling it. So I went and talked to my boss's boss next. And I was like, what book would you recommend? He goes, well, I talk about it all the time, but 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He was like, that's the book that you should read. And I go, you got it. So, so when February rolled around, I started reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And, before I knew it, that was done. And I really enjoyed that book. And then March of 2020 came around and I picked my next book. And that was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And it's somebody that we talk about regularly here of, the tiny little actions you can take in your life and how they compound over time. I watch the Darren dailies every single day that he puts out here. And I was like, hey, that's just a natural book for me to want to read. Well, little did I know, 15 days into March of 2020, that was when my daughter was born at 22 weeks old. And my life changed forever. So for the rest of that story, I'm not going to get into that today, but I wrote a book about that whole entire journey as to how that really turned into where we are today. It's amazing to me when I start to think back on this book, this Hope is Not a Strategy book, that 19 months later, when I wrote this particular reflection, I'd be in the middle of writing my second book and, read a couple hundred books and it's, it really is kind of blows my mind sometimes to think that this is where we're at right now. And, I had no idea this was what my life would be. But here we are. Right. So the funny thing is after when I had some time to sit down and think about this book and I was writing this reflection, I think the title actually, even though it's about sales, it actually ended up feeling kind of right. Hope really isn't a strategy. It's what I've learned over this whole entire journey. It's Drew and I talk about this all the time, but the idea of putting things first in your life and living a value-driven life. And I didn't really have a plan before my daughter was born. She changed my life, and this whole entire journey has definitely changed my life as well. And the biggest thing that came out of that is what's most important to me in my life, and kind of putting together a plan of how I can live those actions every single day to honor her and to live a purpose-driven life, really. So I'm no longer on the hope is a strategy life plan. I'm on the hope is not a strategy, right, life plan, and try to take control of that going forward. So no idea where we're going with all this stuff, but I know if I keep putting those first things first every single day of my life, and honoring my daughter and honoring where we're going with this whole entire journey, that some good things will happen. So that's a reflection overall. The question for everybody that we can talk about, and love to get your guys' thoughts, Brooke and Drew, as to how you feel about hope is not a strategy, and kind of the stuff that I was talking about. But the question is what's your strategy to put first things first in your life? So yeah, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts.
Why don't you go first, Brooke?
I've not read Hope is Not a Strategy, but it sounds very interesting to me because do you guys mind if I'm very honest?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm a recovering alcoholic. So we go through the AA book. And for me, to honor, when you talk about honoring your daughter, or you honor in everyday life, how you can honor her. For me, I honor my higher power, so to say, my God, in things that I do that help keep hope in me, and that don't let me fall back into the recesses of my life or recesses of drinking, and keep me moving forward. Especially like you said, when you were reflecting about the fact that during the pandemic, here we are, you weren't expecting this to be a part of your life. And because of the pandemic, I think that people need hope. They need a strategy. It's corny. People need hope and they need a strategy, but you need a hope and you need a strategy. And however you connect with that is really important, especially when that period in time, people handle things differently. For me, at one time, it was hopeless. I was really scared. I was freaking out. Where am I going to work? How am I going to do things? How am I going to handle this? How do I handle what is going on? And you have to have some sort of strategy. You have to have, and in the program, it's the steps. Right. You have to have steps in order to recover. And if you follow those steps, you'll stay in recovery. But the 12 steps of the AA program can be applied to anything.
Right.
And those are the things that keep you balanced. Those are the things that keep you from not falling off the wagon, not falling out of hope, going into desperation, or it gives you the tools in which to do, how to handle it if you do start going, you start having bad thinking, or you start thinking about whatever. So that's what I relate to your book about Hope is Not a Strategy, and how it's opened you up to, doing these reflections. And reflecting through the program is the same thing. You're supposed to write, you keep a journal, you reflect, you go forward. Yeah, this sounds really interesting because, they're all tools to help us move along. Right. And to get through life, because to be quite honest, life can be really rough. It can be total bullshit depending on what you're going through. And like I said, people get a paper cut and be crying in their beer. Your pain, my pain, it doesn't matter whether I have a paper cut and you lose your best friend. Pain is pain, and how you perceive your pain is in your head and in your heart and in your soul. And you need tools to how to deal with that. And you need goal-oriented ways of moving forward through whatever it is that you go through. I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing.
No. It's I appreciate you sharing that, number one. Brooke, I feel like we're kindred spirits. I think Drew, I don't know if you're hearing the same stuff that I'm hearing, but it's like you're hitting all the right buttons.
I do.
We talk about all the time.
Yes.
It's about balance. It's about having a plan. It's about doing the things you care about.
Deep searching within yourself, and that's something that we want to bring to the surface. A lot of people don't take that time to reflect and say, well, is this, am I taking time out for myself? Am I doing this for me, or I'm doing this for someone else? Or I'm doing this because I'm expected to. And so to me, that's something that people neglect, especially in America, just because we have been conditioned to go fast and go faster and faster and faster. And at some point, you know, it's like, this is not what this is not what I want. It is what somebody else wants for me. And so not a lot of people do the deep searching and think about what it is that is important to them before, you know, it's they either have an atomic bomb like Chris or hit a midlife crisis like me. And that's the thing, it's we want to make these aware before, you know, it's getting later in the life when you have less and less time to make the change.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree more as well. I mean,
I
it's
agree with that.
yeah, it's the, I don't know. I really think about my life before my daughter, and like I've told True this a million times. Like, it's not like I had a bad life. I mean, I was, you know, on the surface, like successful, married.
Well, you have
you know.
you have a typical dream life. Okay,
Right.
it's a typical dream life, because when I say typical, it's because this is what people are telling you that you
Right.
should be doing. This you should be striving for. This you should be achieving for. You should, you know, go to school, go to good school, get a, you know, get a good job, and get a promotion, climb the ladder. That's the regimen. That's the conditioning. But whether or not that's fitting for you as an individual is not, has never crossed your mind.
Right. I didn't choose it. Like, I mean, that was like, it was something that just, I actually, I remember joking about this my entire life. Actually, I would call it like a wing it wonder. And I told you about this the other day. Like, I didn't plan any of my life out. Where I went to school, I just said, yeah, I'm going to go there, you know, like, and I went there, you know, I got in, I went there. I was like, I'm going to study that. And I did that, you know, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to work in this industry, and I got a good job, you know, like, none of it was ever planned. None of it was ever because like it was something that I had some connection to, or it was more along the lines of what you're talking about, True. And you know, after Amelia and everything that we went through, like, that all changed. I mean, that's when, like, you can't go through life without just hoping that you're going to stumble upon happiness along the way, you know, like, it just can't be like you have to take control of that, and you have to, you know, Brooke, as you were talking about, like with nature, right? You know, like working in harmony and working in balance, and like understanding all the things that are going on around you, and being able to help navigate yourself through that world. Like, and if you're just wavering in the wind and hoping things will turn out okay, like you're probably won't. Like, you know, I mean, that's what we're trying to change here. That's what True and I are that's our mission as of the company that we've been trying to found, is to help other people to find that balance and to find that direction in their life, and to do it on purpose. And that's what we hope to do.
And to live a heck of a life.
Right.
I mean, if you know, to kind of put it in the jargon, you live a heck of a life, you know, life that you feel proud of living, versus when you say, you know, when I'm about to leave this world, I say, well, I still got things I want to do. Like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, right? Because if you're about to leave this world, you can, like we were talking about the other day, you know, if you have 6 months to live, what are you doing? Right? If you say, I'm going to continue to go to work, that means that work is important, and I respect that. But if you say, you know, I would quit work right now. So why are you waiting until you have to leave this world to think about that? Think about that now. Do whatever that is important to you. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be work. It could be, you know, philanthropist. It could be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be altruistic. It has to be what you want. And that's something people don't understand is, you know, are you living for yourself? Or are you living for the idea of what people see in you? And to me, that's a big gap. It's a big difference between the two.
It's the philosophy of it, the idea of it, for me, is simple. You know, the expression "keep it simple, stupid" is a really true expression. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't build crap up in your mind and make it more than what it is. And like today, I know this, you guys are going to think this sounds totally insane, but in my lifetime, my biggest thing for me is to help another human being, help my fellow animal, you know, any way you can, whether it's a smile, saying hi to somebody, But the simplest of things for me make me happy. The simplest of things. It's when we start being like, well, I'm going to move to Hollywood, or I'm going to be the best YouTube star. You're constantly clawing and chasing. And as soon as you get this thing,
Right.
it's on to the next. I'm going to have to
yeah,
have this because I'm not happy with this, because I
Right.
need this.
Yes.
And it's I'm a big fan of Eckhart Tolle, who said being in the now. Being in the now is the most important thing. We're always like, our brains are always real, at least mine is. I should speak for myself. My brain is always really fast. It's a monster in there. It wants to constantly and when you take time to like ride a bike or sit on a rock, or it sounds like I'm smoking weed, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, when you take time to be in nature and just sit and listen, it's hippy dippy, but it's the truth. You get in touch. That feeling that you get, that need that you want gets fulfilled. Your cup gets filled. And today there was when I was helping that dog, the people that were like, oh my God, you got your pants dirty. You're covered in, can we, and I was like, so what? I don't care about my pants. I want your dog to be okay. You know what I mean? The material doesn't matter. And if you have a whole lot of everything, and I am one of those people that I'm grateful for everything I have, but how much is enough? How much is enough?
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. And The Molecule of More, you should totally read that book. Write that one down, because we'll definitely be talking about that one in the future.
Yes.
But that one's been a big topic of conversation between True and I for the past couple of weeks. But yeah, we should definitely talk about that one. But in keeping with balance, I know my wife is going to kill me because she only gives me until 7 o'clock every night, and we're over time. So so that's okay. That was really fun, Brooke, and I think you should join us for more of these. We do this every single night, Monday through Thursday, so at 6 o'clock Eastern.
Okay.
So, if you ever want to hop on the Zoom link anytime, it's an open invitation. True. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I mean, I think that would be, we would love to have Brooke here on as many times as she wants to come. So it feels like
As
a
long
kindred
as
spirit.
Brooke brings a kindred spirit, I am always welcome her.
Oh,
Awesome.
Thank you very much. This is exciting. Yeah, because this is awesome. This is great. I'm really glad that I got to meet you guys. It's wonderful, because it's hard to find people that are kindred spirits. Everybody is all about being a soccer mom, drinking Starbucks, driving their SUV. I don't live in that life. I just don't. And it's very hard. I feel like an albatross a lot, because I don't relate to that.
Well,
Not that I don't put it down, but.
Well, join the Clubany. That's what we call our business, is Clubany. It's a club and a company. We can all connect and have fun and live a balanced existence. That's what we go for here. So, thank you both for joining, and thanks everybody for tuning in. And the question we can leave with you guys is, what's your strategy to put first things first in your life? Something to reflect about. So we will see you all tomorrow.